So I'm not sure if you guys are tracking this, but it's starting to sound very different the way things are at right now at One Jets Drive. Now, I know in times past, as Jets fans, we were excited and pumped up whenever we won the offseason. We've bragged about it like fools. We used to think that that was the epitome of how things were going to go right as Jets fans, and that's our bus. Did that to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We get it. That's our fault. But lately, man, things have been just different at One Jets Drive in terms of how our coaching staff, how our general manager is just carrying themselves. And yeah, man, today we had a couple of pressures, you know what I'm saying, from our GM and from our head coach Aaron Glenn. We're going to talk about it. Not a lot going on right now in terms of the off season. It's that quiet, dull moment, but I think it was a good press conference, and we're going to talk about that. But yeah, things are definitely looking a little different for us at One Jets Drive.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance man.
Any players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges, but with challenges gets opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
And here we go. What's good, Jets fanatics? I appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. I know I was MIA last week. My apologies for that, but my baby had a track competition. I had to be there for it. Things went well, so I appreciate y'all patience and understanding. But yeah, man, miss you guys. So I'm glad to be back. So yeah, like I said before, not much to really talk about when it comes to the offseason. Not much to really talk about when it comes to the New York Jets. My guy Wild Wave, how you doing? Nice to see you hanging out with me in the chat. What's good, Todd? How you doing, man? Howdy to you as well. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the love, and I can always depend on y'all to get in here and keep things interesting. But yeah, so I mean, I guess ultimately, like tonight's show, I was really pumped about it because I listened to the Darren Muji and the freaking Aaron Glenn pressers this morning, and I gotta tell you, man, like it's different. Like it's different, and I think when I say different, I'm saying that in the most positive of ways. Oh, Connor, what? Yo, did we not have a show tonight? I just realized like about 20 minutes ago when my timer came on for my show that we didn't do a 7 o'clock. So maybe we didn't have a show tonight because I didn't get a link or a text from you. So I'll chop it up with you afterwards. I'm kind of curious about that. But what's up, Connor? Appreciate you for being in the chat. But yeah, like in all actuality, right? Just kind of this offseason has been one of I guess silence, right? The Jets organization has moved in almost stealth-like in how they're operating. No longer are they really doing the big flashy acquisitions. There wasn't anything really major, no breaking news type of storylines, with the exception of course, the Aaron Rodgers, being let go, which of course we all kind of saw that coming. Justin Fields might have been the other big bang type of news that we got out there, but for the Jets, it's been a pretty quiet offseason, almost silent, almost stuff like in their approach. And at first, I think for us content creators specifically, we're thinking this is boring. We need excitement. We need somebody to go ahead and do something worth talking about. This is how we get in front of you guys and we have engaging conversations, and it's a fun time. But if we really kind of sit back and kind of listen to the words that were stated earlier today by our GM and our head coach, I think there's a lot to really process here and be excited about as Jets fans. Vero, what's good, brother? Nice to see you in the chat. Connor, just forgot to we couldn't do the show. That's on me. I forgot to mention. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I'm glad that I didn't miss anything. Because I was sitting there and I was just like, I know last week you were doing your thing, and I wasn't too certain about today. But again, it's not my fault. I could have just texted you, but it didn't register until about 20 minutes before I was doing my show. And I'm like, oh, crap. I wasn't on Connor's show today. I know we have a standing off-season show right now until off-season is over. So glad that it wasn't on me and we were just kind of both miscommunicated. So all good, brother. I'm glad you still were able to get that pre-recorded one out there as well. So no need to apologize. Appreciate you. But it's dental nightmares. Yeah, no, I feel that. I hate the dentist. I actually have to go to the dentist next week. I am not looking forward to it because I'm pretty positive I'm going to get fillings. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan either, man. So I get it. Sorry. I just anyway, yes. So stealth-like. The Jets have moved almost stealth-like in terms of their approach this offseason, which is a direct contrast to what we've seen the last few years, right? The Jets have been a very, very loud organization. The fan base has been pretty loud in the offseason. The players have been very vocal in the offseason, talking about the talent this, the talent that, how we're going to go ahead and show people what we're about, blah, 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 right? And it's all resulted in embarrassment and failure more often than not. It hasn't reaped any kind of rewards. It hasn't worked out to our benefit. It's just been a lot of hype, a lot of talk, and embarrassment when it came to game days. So it's interesting that the New York Jets go a different route. We get our new head coach. We get our new general manager. They're making moves for the betterment of the organization, of the team, and they're doing so in a almost calm-like demeanor. The kind of demeanor. It's like there's the quiet kid in school, right? Like everybody's not too sure about the quiet kid. And nobody really messes with them. But then, like, there's going to be someone that's bold enough to want to try and pick on the quiet kid. Come to find out the quiet kid is no joke. He'll whip your ass, and he beats up on a bully or whoever's messing with him and puts a squash to it, right? It's giving me that kind of vibe right now with what the New York Jets are doing. And maybe, again, this is me coping with in regards to the team maybe going in the realm of a bit of a rebuild. I don't know. It's feasible, but you have to admit that things have been different with the New York Jets this offseason. And it got reiterated as such in today's press conference. So today, if you haven't seen it, for some reason, YouTube's been weird in regards to copyright strikes and stuff like that. I actually have to change out my intro because apparently they're not happy with me using another YouTube clip for my – anyway, I got to – chance. I'm not going to show the press conference because I don't know what the heck's going on with YouTube, and I don't want the smoke. But I'll paraphrase. But today you had Darren Muji and you also had Aaron Glenn do some press conferences. They're out there doing the coach and GM committee where they're they're going over the rules and stuff like that, and they had a chance to speak. And I gotta say, man, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because the conversation, the way they approach these little pressers, right? These mini pressers, it wasn't to gloat. It wasn't about being boisterous. It wasn't about, how they're going to kick people's ass and prove people wrong, all gas, no brakes, none of that trash. It wasn't none of that rah trash we've been so accustomed to hearing and we've bought into as a fan base. It was quiet confidence. It was addressing the media, as professionals. Aaron Glenn specifically to me when asked questions in regards to some of the moves that they've made thus far in the offseason and him simply breaking down like we believe in what this guy can contribute to the team. They were trying to ask questions about the offensive scheme in regards to, were they going to be pass heavy? Were they going to be run heavy? Like, how confident are you in your offensive coordinator? He's never done this before. Why do you think Justin Fields is going to be the guy that you guys are going to figure out Justin Fields when no one else can figure out Justin Fields? And he's just gone away about answering those questions in the sense of, listen, we believe in the kid. We believe in his skill set. We believe that he is the future prototype of what quarterbacks or the NFL wants to go to when it comes to the quarterback position. We're going to coach him up. He almost says he hasn't had the right kind of coaching. He hasn't had somebody believe in him the way we believe in him, the way we're going to coach him up, without saying it. Like, he says that without saying it. So it was more of a you can't really judge the kid because he really hasn't had the help a young quarterback needs in the NFL level. Now, I know it's funny to even say this out loud as a Jets fan, as if like we know what that looks like, how to go ahead and help a young quarterback in the NFL. But the way he spoke about utilizing the player's strengths, right? They're creating an offense, mind you, this isn't going to be freaking, the head coach says we're going to run the ball. Head coach says, this isn't like that. Aaron Glenn was very specific when he stated that they are going to evaluate the talent they have on the roster, and they're going to create an offense that emphasizes the strengths of the players we have on the roster. Now, think about that. What's up, Vero Beach? I see you in the building, brother. Appreciate you for jumping in here with me. This offseason is like getting with the popular cheerleader in high school, getting all excited for prom night and realizing she's blah when she gives you a hug at her door at midnight. It is feasible that is the route we're headed. We got Brian with thinking is overrated. Oh man, good old Woody. You gotta appreciate that guy. My boy Johnny Boy, what's good, Johnny? Man, nice to see you in the building as well. Brian, I too am feeling good on the low key off season, the nice change from the past few years. And again, this could just be us as Jets fans being excited about a complete opposite, a 180 from what we've experienced the last couple of years, because we've seen what the other side of it looks like. It's been utter failure and embarrassment. Being this low key, being this quiet, being this subtle, I think is giving us a vibe of like, okay, maybe we're just putting our heads down and we're actually going to work. Like, it feels like the team, the organization has gone from look at us, put us on this. It's being loud and boisterous to just shut up and play football. Let's just shut up and go ahead and figure out how to play football and be good at it. And I like that approach. But going back to what I was saying in regards to Aaron Glenn, he broke down how like he doesn't have the game plan of what the offense looks like yet. They want to first evaluate what they have on the roster and how to best emphasize individual talents on that roster to create a functional offense that's going to go ahead and score points. That to me is coaching, because he doesn't have a philosophy in his mind, and that he's going to be like, okay, boom, I'm going to be a ground and pound coach. I'm going to be a freaking launch. We're going to pass it all over the field coach, right? His thought process is, I don't know. We have to adapt to our talent. We have to adapt as coaches to put our pieces in the best position possible to win games. So once we get all the pieces together and we see what we have in regards to that talent and how to properly utilize and coordinate it, we'll build the offense around that. I love that. You got to love that, right? Like last season, it was a season of Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? We're going to slang it. We're going to do like Aaron Rodgers was the focal point. Like the offense was Aaron Rodgers. Season before that, after he got hurt, then we thought to ourselves, okay, it's going to be freaking on Breece Hall. It's going to be a ground and pound or running game. Let the defense win us some games, right? And that was us putting literally the team, the talent of the team in a box for us to go ahead and try to figure out what to do, kind of like on the spot, right? But never had any kind of game plan to adjust when the game, obviously the original concept or thought process didn't go accordingly. The fact that Aaron Glenn sat there in front of these, he's like, I don't know. We don't have that game plan yet. We're going to figure it out once we have the pieces together and put it all together. I love that. I absolutely love that. Now, some people will look at that and they'll say to themselves, like, man, it sounds like he doesn't know what he's doing. I would disagree. I feel like this is a guy who's very comfortable in the fact that He's not going to give an answer just to appease the masses. He's not going to give an answer to make the reporters feel good, to make us feel good. Simply put, we need to get all the pieces together before we know exactly what we're building here. It's a puzzle. It's a freaking puzzle, right? You don't automatically, let's just say you go and you get a box, right? And the box is just a bunch of puzzle pieces, and you got to start putting the pieces together. What if there's no picture on that box, right? So you know what you're putting together. It's all about making sure they fit in the proper places to go ahead and see the bigger picture, which is going to be the final product of that puzzle. He's taken that approach to this roster. Taking that approach, not just on offense, but on defense. And somebody had the audacity again to bring up, you know what I'm saying, like his expertise when it comes to, you know what I'm saying, the offensive side of the football. And I'm like, and he responded like, yeah, listen, I get it. I was a defensive coordinator, you know what I'm saying? But I think you guys are mistaken. I am a coach. I'm an NFL coach. I just happen to be a coach that got to this point because I coach defense. But my job is to coach football players. Like, he said it before and he's saying it again. He's reiterating that. I think he's trying to eliminate the sting or the stigma of him being a defensive-minded coordinator, becoming a head coach. I think he's trying to separate himself from, you know, the Salas, you know what I'm saying, of the world, the coaches that were coordinators. They came here, they couldn't be head coaches. They were still coordinators playing head coach. He's trying to emphasize I'm a guy that got his opportunity because I was a good defensive coach, but I'm a coach. This is what I'm doing here. And I love that about what he's doing. Vero says, it's meh. What's worse? What's the worst that can happen? It seems they are pushing for cheap, low risk, high reward, play the best player on the roster. And since we didn't splash this year in wiping out the salary cap mess, yeah, listen, it hasn't been flashy. It hasn't been sexy. I don't think they've done anything this offseason, like I said before, that's got us thinking to ourselves, hell yeah. Oh, what's up, Yeti? I didn't even see you. What's up? Appreciate you for chopping it up and hanging out with us. But I think that's also a misconception, right? That the pieces that we've kept or we're putting together can't potentially play football at a high level and bring W's. Now, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I think the Jets are now playoff favorites or Super Bowl favorites. I'm off that bandwagon. I'm off that boat. I do believe the realistic scenario of this season could be kind of painful. I think that I'm thinking we have a better chance at getting a top 5 pick than we have a chance of making the playoffs, in my opinion. Again, maybe that's me being naive. Maybe it's the Jets PTSD that we've all freaking got from the years of believing and them shutting us down. But for me, I look at it in the sense of, I think most Jets fans look at the season and they're thinking to themselves, okay, let's just get through it. On the one hand, maybe all these pieces work out well and we're able to go ahead and get the stigma of the longest playoff drought off of our backs. I think the ceiling for this team for this season is a wild card spot. But I realistically believe the floor of this season is a top 3 pick in the draft. I think that we could hit either or. And that's not a comforting thing. I'm not excited about that. It's not fun to say it, but I think if we're being real with ourselves, this season is going to be a culture building season, right? Which again, they spoke about culture. When it came to the players they were bringing in, also, Vero, you also got to remember they're wanting to bring in guys that can be culture shifters and are coachable and are going to go ahead and bring the kind of attitude of competitiveness and winning that you want to see. And yeah, again, when it comes to the guys they brought in, you don't see, there's no stud, right? There's no freaking Saquon Barkley. There's no Michael Parsons. There's no CeeDee Lamb. There's no Justin, like there's nothing like that being brought into the building. But this free agency as well hasn't been really that exciting, if you really want to be honest. It's been a pretty mid free agency all around. But in terms of the piece they brought in, they're young guys. Right? They are all high pedigree guys. They came in with high promise, you know what I'm saying, into the NFL. And sometimes you got to ask yourself, maybe that change of scenery could be what literally sets these guys off. I mean, we saw with again, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. We've seen this happen opposite of us, right? Where we spend high capital on a player, they leave, they go somewhere else, and then boom, they explode. They unload, they figure it out, right? I'm trying to think of a scenario or look at it in the sense that maybe this year betting on the, like you said, the low risk meh reward player, maybe one or two of those guys go off. Imagine if Justin Fields figures it out, right? Cisco figures it out, becomes a freaking stud. Like you got to look at, could this change of scenery with coaches who've played the game, understand it, and have been with winning organizations, can they unlock something? And I think that's what we got to look at. If we're being honest, that's where I'm at. I'm hoping for the best. I'm not going to lie. I'm hoping for the best because, again, as a fan, we can't help but be fanatics. That's who we are. In fact, if you course with a fan, like the very definition of it is being a fanatic, to look upon something with extreme zeal and overconfidence and joy, which is what you do when you look at your team. The offseason is where we get to look at it and think to ourselves, man, maybe this year it's going to be different. We can't help ourselves. We just look at it and we're looking at the most positive output that could potentially happen before the season gets here. So I'm hoping for the best, man. I really am. I'm expecting a top 3 pick, but I'm hoping for the best. For me, this season could be a success, even if we lose and it's the win-loss columns doesn't look quite right. It can be a success if you see a noticeable change in terms of how these guys start games and finish games. Maybe they're not good enough to win some of those freaking matchups, but the way they start and finish games is going to matter to me. How they react in those pressers after these losses and wins is going to matter to me. And are we within striking distance of, say, an Archie Manning in the draft? To me, those 3 things will dictate for me a successful season, even if it's a season that's riddled with L's. Only because we were a quarterback away 2 years ago. And last year, we clearly realized we were not that. And there's more question marks now about this team than I think that there was the last couple of years. And granted, I do believe coaching had a strong impact on why this team was as mid as it was. But it still means that, you know what I'm saying, we got some ways to go. We still got a lot to figure out. Are they planning on 2-3 year rebuild plan? I don't think it's that, man. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's a 2-3 year rebuild plan. I think this year you could say a bit of a restructuring, right? A bit of reformatting. But I think next year it's fair to expect this team to be at the very least playoff contenders, right? And I say that because you have a team with an all-pro cornerback. You've got an all-pro defensive tackle. You've got a stud wide receiver who's young and explosive and is still looking to break out. He hasn't even hit his ceiling yet. I still believe Breece Hall is a top 5, top 3 back in the NFL. You've got a Jamian Sherwood who's an all-pro linebacker. Quincy, all-pro linebacker. You've got talent on this roster, man. And you've got talent at some very, very important pieces. Oh, and by the way, your offensive line, after you got rid of the old guy last year, graded out as one of the top 10 units in the NFL, and they're one of the youngest, right? You know what I'm saying? We've got a young freaking offensive line as well. I don't think it's a rebuild, man. I don't think this is a 2 to 3 year thing. I think realistically this year, it's a bit of a rebuild. I think next year, you're focusing on the quarterback and finishing out adding some pieces. I mean, again, the draft, how they do the draft is going to really dictate how well it can be for next year. But I refuse to believe it's a 3-year rebuild. That would agitate me. I think it's more of a 2-year restructuring. But yeah, I'm with you with this. If they win, great, but they are prepping us for a mess season to prep for a strong rebuild with money to spend. Yeah, again, that may be the approach for some, but I think a lot of that money is going to go to our own guys, personally. I think the quarterback position is going to be a key component. I don't know if Justin Fields is that dude. I just don't. I mean, again, I like his athleticism. I like that he brings an elite trait to the quarterback position, which is his scrambling ability. But we've seen the dude, you know what I'm saying? The mechanics are very, very just, you know what I'm saying? They're just, he can make some mistakes. I mean, again, you've seen him drastically get better year in and year out that he's been in the league. And it's very feasible that he might put it all together in year 4. This could be the year he puts it all together, right? I wouldn't hold my breath. I don't think that's realistic, but it is a possibility. For me, I'm really looking at next year's draft to potentially find our franchise guy. I think you find your franchise guy in next year's draft, and you pretty much got this thing freaking built out. I don't know if you're going to find yourself the next Andrew Luck. I think Andrew Luck was truly a generational talent. But if you can find yourself, you know what I'm saying, a guy who can go ahead and make plays here and there, minimize the turnovers, allow this defense to actually eat, get the ball into your running backs. And remember, this offensive line was a top 10 unit last year when they got rid of the old guy. Top 10 unit. And Aaron Rodgers didn't help it either because he's highly immobile. Sometimes he kind of maneuvered into sacks, but still top 10 unit, and they're young, right? When you got the offensive line, the defensive line's got a hole to plug, a couple of holes to plug. I think JJ coming back is going to be huge. Will McDonald, by the way, the most double-digit sack season, showed he could play at the NFL level. That defensive line is going to be healthy with JJ on the edge as well. Like, guys, we've got some dogs on this roster. We really do. And I get it, man. Like, the way the output hasn't been there. We haven't seen what it's supposed to look like. But I go back to the fact that I believe a lot of that has to do with coaching, man. I think the New York Jets have not had a coaching advantage in football years. I mean, I would even argue going back to the Rex Ryan days, man. It's been rough. It's been rough. We have not had a coaching advantage. And for me to sit here and tell you that these rookie coaches are going to be the ones that finally put us on the map when it comes to having a coaching advantage, it's probably naive and a bunch of homerism, very feasible. But what if those guys are right? Again, remember, every head coach had to get a chance to become a head coach and show they could do the job. I know a lot of people are wanting to quit on Aaron Glenn already. The dude hasn't had an opportunity to showcase his skill set at that position. But again, I like the fact that he says all the right things. He carries himself like the kind of a head coach you would want of the New York Jets. And he's played the game before, man. He should be able to relate to these guys in the locker room and get the best out of his guys. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. And I do believe that, again, with a competent coach, with a competent coaching staff last season, the Jets might make the playoffs. Last season, Jets lost 7 games last year, man, by 1 possession. 1. With no help from the coaching staff. None. The coaching staff was so abysmal. They never had an advantage. And yet, 7 games last year were lost by 1 possession. I'm just saying, man, you turn 4 to 5 of those around, your season looks very different. It looks very different. How much tweaking do you really need to go ahead and get that 1 possession, right? To win a couple of those, even half of those 1 possession games, right? I don't think it's that many for a good coach. I think for a trash coaching staff, which we definitively had, it's probably a freaking mountain you're trying to have them climb. But if these guys prove to be even average an average coaching staff, if they prove to be an average coaching staff, I believe wholeheartedly that this team will win more games purely because of that. Now, that might not go well for, our pick in next year's draft because it might not be enough for us to actually win games that freaking matter. That would suck, right? But knowing that we have a coach will go a long way, and I kind of want to know if we've got a coach. So I think this year is going to be an evaluation process. Now, the good thing about this, Jets fans, is that we've seen so much bad football. We've seen so much bad coaching. We've seen what wrong looks like so clearly for so long that it won't take us more than a season to know whether or not this head coach can go ahead and turn things around. It really won't. I'm actually feeling confident that by mid-season, even if the wins aren't there, the fan base will be able to look and say to ourselves, guys, we at least got the coach. Now we need to look at the quarterback or whatever the case might be. I think that's up on the board. So for me, it's hard for me to say it's a 2-year rebuild. I still don't even think this is a rebuild. I think more of a retooling. But I think it's fair to say whenever you don't have the quarterback, you're kind of rebuilding anyway. Until you get the quarterback, like, it really doesn't matter. And we don't know if we've got one. I'll go off on the limb and say I don't think we have a franchise guy. I think Justin Fields is a capable starter at the NFL level. I just don't know if I'm ready to call him a franchise guy. Dead Cat. Hold on, 2 drafts for the Jets to compete. So, so 2 drafts for the Jets to compete. I would argue compete for what? Are we talking about competing for the playoffs or competing to be legitimate contenders? Because I would agree if you're referring to legit contenders. I agree. I say we're 2 drafts away from that, right? And of course, you're going to need to hit on some of your free agent signings, and the culture shift has to be real. But in terms of making the playoffs, I do believe if this draft goes well and our coaching staff is even average, the Jets could sneak into the playoffs next year. I do believe wild card is the ceiling. I don't think they're going to go much further than that in terms of the playoffs. But once you're in, anything could happen, right? And that's the name of the game. Once you're in, anything could happen. But in terms of competing to where I'll sit up here and say to myself, boy, we got a chance to actually make it to the game. Yeah, I think we're about 2 drafts away. I think that's going to require 2 drafts and 2 off seasons to go ahead and really add the level of talent you would need to be a Super Bowl contender. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that Aaron Glenn is going to be the next freaking Andy Reid. You know what I'm saying? To be able to go ahead and do a lot with a little. I don't think that's the case. But yeah, I would agree with that, Brian. I think that's fair to say that 2 drafts and 2 off seasons puts us in competition range, and I'm referring to like competing to get to the big game, right? But for the playoffs, I do believe next season, if this draft goes well, if this coaching staff proves to be average, they're in the conversations for a wild card spot. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And this is why I have a hard time talking about this being a rebuild. When you look at, again, a top 10 line also based on Rodgers getting rid of the ball fast. Nah, not necessarily, Brian. Not necessarily. He also took sacks, you know what I'm saying, that he didn't need to be taken. He was a statue back there. That's facts. I think Rodgers was being given a lot more credit for last year than for a lot more credit to the line's success than he should have, because any mobile quarterback, I think, would have had a field day back there in our offensive line, but I digress. Starting over would suck. So hopefully we win a Super Bowl in this lifetime. I would love that, Jay Gott. I really would. I think we're all putting our heart and soul into this organization because we would love to see a Super Bowl before we die, right? That's the goal for every fan base. But it's like the Jets, it seems like it's an astronomical request, right? Like, my goodness, man. Like, we've gotten to the point now as a fan base to where we're blaming our failures on a curse, the curse of Joe Namath, the one guy who brought us a Super Bowl. We've blamed him now as to why we can continue to go ahead and suck. But back to Brian's take. Yeah, we are starting from zero. I think we do have 15 to 16 of the 22 like quality, like legit NFL caliber starters. And I would say about 10 of those guys are Pro Bowl caliber talent. I'll die on that hill. I think we got about 10 guys, if you count the offensive line, defensive line, and some of the skill players that are Pro Bowl caliber guys, and we've got a couple of all pros on this roster. I'll say that with my whole chest. I'll die on that hill. You can't convince me otherwise. When you've got that much talent in your starting rotation, you're not going to convince me that you need a rebuild. Like, a rebuild is what the Patriots are currently in, right? They have no talents. They scare no one. They just got Vrabel, right? So I guess that's scary. But the Patriots are in a rebuild right now. And they've got the quarterback, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Drake May might be a guy. I wasn't a believer of his, but the last few games he put together at the end of the season, damn it, man, he might be a guy. I'm hoping he gets ruined by Daniels. But he might be a guy. I digress. They're rebuilding. The Jets have the Jets have 10, I would say 10 to 12 guys on this roster right now that starts on any other team in the NFL. There's a starting spot for them on any other team in the NFL. Like, not every, but there's a team in the NFL that would start them in the NFL. That's why I can't sit here and say, like, we're rebuilding 2-3 year rebuilds. It's a retooling. And again, If these guys take some steps next year with proper coaching, we might be sitting here doing a hangout talking about like, wow, I can't believe these bitches just shocked us and made it to the playoffs and pushed, the Ravens in the wild whatever, right? A wild card game or whatever. Like, are you competing then? If you're pushing, let's say you're pushing the Chiefs in the playoffs or the Ravens or the Bengals, are you considered, or the Bills? What if you sweep the Bills in our division? Would you consider that competing then? I'm not saying we're going to. Right now, the Bills are the team to beat in our division. Josh Allen and friends definitely proved to me last season that they don't need talent on the roster to be successful. So I don't think they're a very talented roster, but they've got a top 3 guy at the quarterback position, and that can help you win a lot of games. But if the Jets beat the Bills next season, you sweep them. Are they contenders? Right? I mean, if you sweep those guys, that should mean you're on track to potentially winning the AFC East, which puts you into that caliber of a playoff contender, right? But I would still argue that the ceiling for the Jets is a win in the playoffs. That's the ceiling for me. If everything pans out, a win in the playoffs. If everything is all right, I think we could sneak in as a wild card. If I'm being real, if I'm putting money on it today, I think the New York Jets have a top 3 pick. It's a weird feeling to be in, to have that flux of a range. But this team has kind of allowed us to be in that mindset. But yeah, I just feel like when we look at what this team can potentially achieve, we haven't really seen it all yet. Like, we just haven't. Wild Wave, man, love this one. I don't even think some of these players hit their full ceiling. I still think they have a lot more to give. 1,000%. And he even names a few guys. I don't think we've seen these guys' full potential yet. I really don't. I don't think we've seen what Sauce can do, what Garrett can do, what Brees can do, what Quinn. And Sauce is a 2-time All-Pro. And I don't think we've seen what that guy can do at the NFL level yet. I think he's got another gear to him. Now, granted, he's always going to be susceptible, I think, to the holding calls, right? But if anybody can kind of coach that out of him, you would think it's an Aaron Glenn. The guy is freakish athletic. He's very, very long. He's got the length. He's very fluid. He doesn't need to grab people. He really doesn't. Like, it's frustrating because, like, his ability to change direction for his length and his size is kind of alien. Like, people that lengthy don't move like that. But he moves like a smaller, more fluid corner. I think a lot of the times when he's reaching and he's grabbing, and we saw a lot of it this past season, where it was hard to argue with the haters that says, like, you know what I'm saying, he's Sauce Grabner. He doesn't need to. Like, a lot of times he's still into the hip of the end, but he's reaching out for no reason. So I think Sauce Gardner has another level that he can achieve, man, and I'm excited for that. I agree, Wild Wave, 100%. I don't think we've seen the ceilings of these guys, and if I'm being honest, I would even throw in Quincy and Jamie Sherwood in that mix. I think we got some dogs on this roster, man. I really do. And again, maybe it is the homerism in me, and that's fine. Call it what you will. But I think under some real coaching, you can see these guys hit another gear, and I'm pumped to see what that looks like this season. So Brian clarified in terms of when he says to compete for the division. Okay, that's fair. If you're competing for the division when you have the Bills, who won, I think, the second most games in the league last year, they got the current MVP. If you're talking about the division, then you're talking about literally Super Bowl contender type of conversation. So, yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the AFC East goes through Buffalo, and if we want a chance at a Super Bowl, you gotta beat Buffalo. Because if they're in the playoffs with you, you still got to go through them to get to the Super Bowl if that's the case. So, yeah, I would agree with that. Compete for the division. If you can do that, it means you're going toe-to-toe with the Buffalo Bills, which means now, in my opinion, you're in the conversation of a Super Bowl contender. Vero Beach says, I feel like this team is so young. They may fight harder, and that's the homer in me. I feel not adding stars shows the coaches will easily bench those who don't perform, will not play. I like that thought process too, right? I think that it also kind of like shows that they believe in these young studs' talent levels, right? But again, it also wouldn't surprise me if they go with the younger guys because they're easier to coach and easier to manage. Is that why you rid the team of your CJ Mosleys and your Devontae Adams and your Aaron Rodgers? Is because you want guys who are more coachable, right, for a new coaching staff? That's a good thought process, Vera. I mean, it would not shock me at all, but I do believe that there's also a component where they just look at the youth on this team and they see a foundation, they see a base, and they don't want them being tainted by some of the proven guys who are on the back end of their careers. They probably look at this team and they're like, yeah, we're not Super Bowl contenders right now. These old heads really aren't going to help us be Super Bowl contenders. We need to get these young guys some valuable minutes and develop them faster because they're going to be how we get to the next level. So there's a spectrum to how that can look like, but in the back of my head, the skeptical me says maybe they just didn't want to have to deal with, you know what I'm saying, too many older stars, proven stars, right? Getting these young guys to go ahead and play ball is a little bit easier, you know what I'm saying, when the coach is already coming in there with respect and a bit of an iron fist. So how about the Jets trade Breece Hall and pick 7 to the Jags for pick 5 and then take Ashton Jeanty? Then you have star running back for 5 years on low cap hit. Now I've seen this a couple of times, and a lot of people have fallen in love with Ashton Jeanty. The kid is a stud. I mean, he's a stud. I just think that in this day and age of the NFL, it's running back by committee. It really is. And the Jets have a pretty deep running back room. I think Breece Hall is a commodity. I really do. And again, I still don't think we've seen his ceiling yet. Remember, this guy came off of a torn ACL last year and still balled out. Was it year before and still balled out, like literally second in all-purpose yards behind only, you know what I'm saying, a McCaffrey out of the 49ers. So I feel like we're selling short on what Breece Hall can do because last year was such a bad year. And I know like Ashton Jeanty is the new shiny freaking like wow. And again, he's an impressive cat. I'm not gonna lie to you, impressive cat. But for me, I think you're trading 2 premium picks to move up 1 to get something that I think Breece Hall could do. And if not Breece Hall and the running back room, you know what I'm saying, can do. I don't think the running back position's value is there. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I would not. I'd be a little salty if that's the route we took. I think Ashton Jeanty is going to be a stud at the NFL level, but the way the NFL has gone, man, I don't know if he's going to be the Adrian Peterson type of guy. And even with Christian McCaffrey, who's been top tier, right, top G in the league in terms of the running back position, he's won some accolades. Where's the Super Bowl? Right, like that's the name of the game, right? Super Bowl. We saw Saquon Barkley just do it, but I would argue Saquon Barkley is the roster around him was also very helpful. Not to mention that offensive line was just top tier. It was elite. I don't know if I would trade 2 premium picks because I consider Hall to be a premium running back in the NFL just to get another premium running back. So for me, I would say no, but I could see why some people want to go that route. Ashton has been impressive. He's been fun to kind of watch and see, especially during freaking the combine and his pro day. The kid he's a freak. Like his ability to run routes is just disgusting. Like very twitchy guy, but he's got power behind it as well. So I completely understand the appeal. But no, I wouldn't do 2 premium picks to get a premium guy, in my opinion. What's good, Jets, Gary? Appreciate you for jumping on. So royalty was good. Coach Glenn is no nonsense in the anti-Salah, and I love it. In all actuality, everyone who keeps saying like, "Oh, we just did the same thing again," defensive-minded coordinator, you haven't been watching this team. Like, they both might have coached defense, but in no way, shape, or form is Salah and freaking Aaron Glenn on the same wavelength. They're not the same guys. They're just not. different cats altogether. What you get from Aaron Glenn, it seems like more of a controlled, silent confidence. Like you don't know what he's thinking type of guy. Whereas Salah was just loud and boisterous for no reason, right? This is a guy who put on a show for everybody. He put on a show with the 49ers of how excited he was, the energy. You saw him having to be held back by hold back coaches and stuff. Then he gets to New York, and we didn't see that, right? So I think the stark difference between Salah and Glenn is, I think Glenn is authentic. When he talks to reporters the way he's talking to reporters, or when he's telling, like the media that the the coaching staff and the general manager is taking care of this team, the ownership's going to stay out of it. I believe that. He has that kind of presence to him, and he's kind of established that. So I agree with you. So I think that's the completely different characters in terms of head coaches when it comes to Salah and Glenn. I think the only thing those guys have remotely in common, they both got their opportunity coaching the defensive side of the football. That's it. That's where it ends. That's that. A team full of proven players, including our stars who are currently not extended, that are young, can be a very dangerous competitive group, men with nothing to lose. Vero, I had this exact same conversation earlier today with a couple of my guys at the office. And, of course, with the Jets, so people got jokes. But I stated almost verbatim to what you're saying. We've got some studs. And we've got some guys who are pissed off because they've been kind of, been pushed aside, and they've got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose. When you've got a bunch of grown men who are competitors who feel that way, anything can happen. And I think we've got that here. Again, when it came to the signings, again, nothing flashy, nothing super exciting, right? But I think that alone, because you're hearing that kind of rhetoric across media, the Jets haven't done much in the offseason. They've been very quiet. They haven't really brought in any kind of star pop. You've heard it. And you hear these guys who are like, I'm an NFL football player. These guys who've always heard how great they were from, middle school all the way on to getting into the league. I think when you are backs against the wall and you've got nothing to lose, people they come out swinging. That whole fight or flight thing, this is one of those situations where you're going to see fight or flight. These guys have nothing to lose right now, and they're being underrated right now, which I think it's a refreshing change of pace for us as a fan base, because we've already seen what overrated looks like, and it has not benefited us much at all as a fan base. All right. So I'm seeing a lot of trade talks in the chat, man. Okay, so if you can get a number 1 and 2 for Sauce, that's a deal to take. He drops the few interceptions that come his way. He doesn't jump the route enough to get more intercepts, doesn't tackle well and holds. So cornerback is a very hard position to play in the NFL level. It really is. It's one of the most difficult, especially in an NFL that's now geared more so towards offense. And these wide receivers, man, are coming out and are capable of doing just ridiculous things, man. Their catch radiuses are insane. Their ability to run routes. I think the scary part about that thought process is that what Sauce does great could be easily replaced because we don't see enough of the flashiness on the field, right? And turnovers are a must. You got to get them as obviously a cornerback to get into that elite tier. But this is a guy who eliminates players from the field. Eliminates them. Like his range is ridiculous. His quickness his speed is ridiculous. The guy's ability to change direction at his size is just, it's not human. It's really not. Again, 2-time All-Pro. This is a guy who was an All-Pro in his rookie year. It hasn't been done in almost 4 generations or something like that. Like, it's hard to sit there and not be excited about the draft picks. I'm thinking to myself, oh, man, you can get a number 1 and number 2 for Sauce. That's the deal you got to – like, I see the appeal there, but I'm also kind of like, I really enjoy watching the draft. But I think the gamble you're making with this Sharp Instincts is now you're hoping – that at least one of those guys is an All-Pro, because you're giving up an All-Pro. You're giving up an All-Pro at his position, right? A top guy at his position. And if you do that, you've got to hit on at least one of them being the top guy at their position, right? It's frustrating this past season to kind of see him kind of give up on some tackles. It's frustrating to see him get called on a lot more of those holds. I don't know what was in Sauce, but don't forget, guys, there's a thing called the sophomore slump, and it hit Sauce maybe in year 3, and that's okay. But I think Sauce is the kind of competitor that's going to learn from it. And again, I was in the same boat with you, man. I was screaming it at the top of the hill during the season. Trade Sauce, trade Sauce, trade Sauce. But I was mad. I was in my feelings because he was just making like game-wrecking mistakes. But when you sit back and you really look at what this kid does good, there's not a lot of human beings on the planet that can be his size and move the way he moves. It's just the science isn't there. The math's not math. And when it comes to his size, his speed dynamic, and his fluidity in terms of being able to go ahead and flip his hips and match and mirror wide receivers in some pretty like tight route groups too. Like the dude sticks to him, and I think that stickiness sometimes is why he gets called on those flags too. Now, I think the stickiness is why a lot of people thought he used to hold a lot the first couple of years. Something seemed off about him this past year because you saw him would be right there with the player, but he would reach for no freaking reason. So I don't know if it was a mental thing. I think Sauce did have his sophomore slump in his junior year. I wouldn't want to trade him because he's one of those players you want to build around, and you want to have at least one on defense and one on offense. And I think Sauce is the best defensive player we've got on the team. But again, 1 and a 2 for Sauce, it's hard to think like, man, I wouldn't do that. I can't sit here and tell you like I wouldn't think about that because that's some premium draft picks. But the problem is this: if you don't get at least one of those guys to be top G at their position, then you lost. Like you lost. Like you can get 2 good players, but you'd still lose because you lost a top guy, an elite guy, an all-pro at his position for 2 guys who might give you a Pro Bowl game here or there. So I that's why I would be cautious about that. Trading Sauce is not how you build a winner. And I agree, Brian. I think that he's young. I think you should pay him. He's done enough already in the league that he warrants the paycheck. He has. And I think last year was more of an indication of that sophomore slump than it is of him falling off of a cliff. Mind you, by the way, let me just reiterate this. Even with the holds, right, and the stuff we're upset about as a fan base, he's still graded out as a top 7 cornerback in the NFL. His floor thus far has been the number 1 cornerback in the NFL or the number 7 cornerback in the NFL. That's it. Ceiling, floor. Number 7 is his floor. So I think if that's what he brings to the table, man, like I just don't know if I can. It's hard to play cornerback in the NFL, especially in today's NFL, man. It really is. I'm not excusing the blatant mistakes he made last year because they were ugly, they were heinous, and they were at the most ill-opportune times. But I think a guy like Sauce Gardner is a guy you build around, man. You've got to build around him because Wild Wave says the best. If you put Sauce Gardner on the trading block, there isn't a single NFL team that's not calling you. Every single team. 31 other teams will call you and ask, hey, seriously? He's on the trading block? Every single team will call and ask. And if that's the case, you're the one team messing up. You're the one team messing up. If you're going to go ahead and have everyone call about old boy. And then you're the one wanting to push that individual out the door. So, yeah, I'm not big on the trading Sauce thing, man. Although I get it. You know, draft picks are pretty. They really are. But you're gambling on getting rid of an all-pro and getting a couple of good guys. Because if you don't hit at least on one of them being an all-pro, you lost that trade. Like, you just lost that trade. It's just that's just the reality of it. All right, let me see here. My boy, what's up? Yo, listen, we haven't talked in a while, Porto. I don't know what you've been up to. I don't know how life is. But brother, text me, man. Let's chop it up a little bit. It's been a minute since you and I spoke, man. Appreciate having you in the building. Wild Wave again, stud. People that want to trade Sauce need to get out of their feelings. But to be fair though, Huawei, if they were saying like trade Sauce for like a bag of chips, you know what I'm saying, and a second round draft pick, I'd have a problem. That's definitely in their feelings. But I do think Sauce Gardner will be the kind of guy who would warrant a 1 and a 2. Like I think that at his age, the kid's still a pup at the NFL level. He's got another decade of playing at the league. I would say another 8 years at elite status, or at least in his prime. 6 years. 6 years at least in his prime. I just don't. Yeah, I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it. I couldn't trade Sauce. I just feel like if you do that, your team's not getting better. Your team's not getting better. And one of 31 other teams will get better by bringing him on. And again, man, like if we get out of our feelings for a little bit, because again, I get it. The most recent tape we have on Sauce Gardner last year, all we can see is the penalties. All we can see is the ugly. But remember, this guy still finished out as the number 7 cornerback in the NFL with the ugly that we saw. And the 2 years prior to that, he was the number 1 cornerback in the NFL. And I just don't know if there's many human beings on this planet that can move like a Sauce Gardner at his size. The dude really is tiptoeing alien in terms of how he's able to move and maneuver with that much length and match and mirror wide receivers. These receivers who are crisp and just technicians when it comes to their route running. I just don't know if many guys who are supposed to defend that can do so at his size with his speed and his ability to go ahead and match and mirror their movements. Big Will, what's up, man? Nice to see you in the building, brother. Yeah, the conversation is that they have. So both my brother-in-laws are Steelers fans, so we talk like daily, and they're not happy about the Aaron Rodgers potential acquisition. But we got their boy Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson's is a giant. So the last option out there is Aaron Rodgers, and all indication from what Jonah told me is that it's a done deal. It's just a waiting game now to kind of get an idea of, again, waiting on Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers doing Aaron Rodgers things, you know what I'm saying, trying to go ahead and slow play the thing because it's just fun for him. I think that's what they're at right now, just waiting on good old Aaron. So, but yeah, it looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Steeler. Jonah knows some people out there. So if he says that it's a done deal, I believe him. It's a done deal. But yeah, not our problem. He's no longer a Jet. I mean, I'm a still watch because again, my brothers are both Steelers fans, and it's Aaron Rodgers. I kind of want to see what happens, how this thing plays out. But yeah, he's definitely. I think he's definitely. If you had to put a number on, I say 89% chance that Aaron Rodgers is a Steeler at the latest next week. I would say this week it happens, but because it's Aaron Rodgers, I'm gonna say by next week we should hear something about him signing with those guys. Dark Soldier, what's up, brother? Nice to have you in the building. Always appreciate you, man, jumping on. Yeah, Sauce for 3 first-round picks. Wow. Yeah, now you got to listen. Man, 3 first-round picks? Yeah, now I'm picking up the phone. I am. And then I'm talking to my staff about that. Man, 3 first-round picks. You can do that's a war chest. That's a war chest of picks. You can do a lot of damage with 3 first-round picks. So yeah, I would definitively pick up the phone and listen to that. Again, I don't know if you can even guarantee one of those picks will bring you a caliber of player of a Sauce Gardner, but I'm definitely taking that call, man. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like nobody has a price. This is still football. There's still a price. Everybody's expendable up to a point, right? Like 3 first-round picks is a war chest of picks for the Jets to make this turnaround a lot faster. Granted, you might lose ability in the secondary because I don't think you can replace a Sauce Gardner in regards to what he does well. But you know what I'm saying? Three guys could potentially make me think, all right, we'll take three good to great football players at the expense of an elite football player. I'd probably take that, if I'm being honest. I know I just said a whole bunch of things about like, him being not human but at the end of the day, like it's a profession and you gotta do what's best for the organization. And 3 first-round picks, man, is a war chest of ammunition for this team to get great fast. So nah, Brian, you got me. I'd have to legitimately consider that one if I'm the front office. Yeah, Huawei. If you said it best, man. I'd have a hard time looking at an offer on the table for 3 first-round picks and not, you know what I'm saying, like consider it. I don't know, man. I just feel like at some point you got to be real with yourself, and the team could get really, really good, really, really fast, man. Like if we're being honest, he can get really, really good, really, really fast. Um, so I'll leave it at that. Okay, let me see here. Let me take a couple more before we jump off. Jets for Steelers in the wild card with ARS QB. That would be hilarious. And honestly, I think I'd have to pay to go see it. But would I pay to go see it? Because what if we lose and then Aaron beat us? That probably hurt a lot more. Oh man. Uh, you know what? I don't think I want that. I don't want that to be how the story ends. That Aaron Rodgers bests us in the wild card and he goes on a bit of a run or anything. I don't want that to be the case. Don't forget, both my brothers-in-laws are Steelers fans, so I would have to deal with it. In fact, my mother-in-law is a Steelers fan, and she's going to be here tomorrow. All my sister-in-laws are Steelers fans. No, can't do it. I don't want that to be how the Jets get taken out of the playoffs because I got too much family that would not let me live it down for a whole season. So, pass on that for me. I would rather one of us make it and the other one not. Preferably us, obviously. Desmond Watson, man, big fatty, right? So in the words of my boy Greeny, I'm sorry, Green Bean. Desmond Watson is a big fatty, man. I just look, he's like 450 pounds or something. Like, he's a big dude, but at 6'6", 450 plus pounds, the dude moves extremely well. Like another one of those guys you look at, it's alien because how big he is and how he moves doesn't add up. The math ain't mathing. He's if I'm not mistaken, he's 6'6". Was it 450 or 460? But this is the guy from the Gators. I think he plays for the Gators, if I'm not mistaken, defensive lineman. The dude is just a fucking I think he'd be an impact guy in stopping the run. I've actually enjoyed watching the dude move. Again, a guy that big, man, moving that fast is just gross. It doesn't make sense. Like it's like science tells you that's not possible, and this big motherfucker is literally doing it. Like to me, Desmond Watson would be a fun addition. Like I wouldn't be mad at it. I guess the only question then becomes at the NFL level, right? You're talking about, you're taking everything up to another tier, right? In terms of physical requirements, you know what I'm saying? Physical exertion. A guy that big, is he going to be susceptible to more injury? And I would argue yes, right? Because I mean, everybody's big and fast at the NFL level, but an unhealthy big and fast could potentially cause some damage or strain on your ligaments, strain on your joints, and I think you got to really start worrying about that. But again, he's a dude that I think could move like lines. He can move lines. You really wouldn't be upset. Oh my gosh, I don't know if this is true. And Jimmy says he can run a 5'8". Listen. At 6'6", 450 pounds, running a 5'8", you're a fucking alien. No, you are. You're not a human being. You're a fucking alien. And I'd have you tested because moving that fast at that weight, it's not even safe. It's not even safe for those around you. Like you are a danger to society. And I think you need to be tested for animal hormones or alien DNA or whatever, right? Like, did he run a 5'8"? Did I miss that? I don't remember. I must have missed that. A 5'8" at 6'6", 450 something pounds is gross negligence to the human body, to the human anatomy. Like that shouldn't be feasible. Like, because that big, at that fast, you are not stopping, you know what I'm saying, quick enough. You could literally run over somebody. That to me is, yeah, I'm gonna have to look at that. 5'8" seems really fast, man. I don't know. I'll have to look into that one. Just will be playing whack-a-mole with all the XSUBs that will be popping up on our schedule. Yeah, that's a big ass dude. I could see that. He does, but hold on, how big was Nagata though? Was he that big? I feel like Nagata was shorter, maybe wider. See, now I'm gonna have to take a look. Yeah, I mean, you're right. All this talk about stopping the tush push. Yeah, Desmond Watson. I bet you he could stop the tush push. That dude himself could be the impact that stops the tush push. Okay, so Jimmy says it's a 5'9", That's still fast. Still fast for a guy that size. That's still fast. That's definitely. Man, I want to know how you calculate the speed of a guy that big, moving that fast at his size. Because I just feel like it might not look fast, like, you know what I'm saying, like when you're looking at it, but in terms of physics, like that'll bend some scale, like a RAS score of 99 for his speed because the size and height offsets. All like I'm curious about that. I really am. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be opposed to Desmond. Now what round is he gonna go in? Hold on, where's my cheat sheet at? I don't even know if I have him. I don't even know if I have him coming to us. Wait, is he even in the? Isn't Devin Watson? Yeah, I don't have him even on my cheat sheet. Yeah, but nah, big dude. I think he'd be an impact stop, guy to stop the run game. I think again, I saw somebody perfectly said stops the tush push. He could single handedly do that. And Vero, you're right. He hasn't really. So this is the funny thing, right? Like he really hasn't really jumped off in terms of like at the collegiate level. I think he's becoming more of a commodity now because of his pure size and how fast he moves at that size. So I think if you're a coach, you're thinking to yourself, I can do some things with that, right? But yeah, I don't think he's really in Florida. I don't know if you would consider him to be a guy, right? Like he's a big ass dude, 100%. But I don't know if you would consider him to be a guy. But when you look at a guy that big that can move like that, if you're a coach, you're thinking to yourself, I could make that work. I could make that work in helping stop, you know what I'm saying, the opposing team run the ball. Yeah, so I mean, again, I think it depends on where you bring him in at, but I don't even know if he's going to be drafted, if I'm being honest. This is a guy, maybe a late flyer. I don't even know if I have Desmond Watson as being drafted. I think that's why he's not on my cheat sheet for draft picks, because I don't think he's done enough that warrants being drafted, but maybe I'm wrong, right? But this is a pretty See, now I'm going to have to go back because I feel like I wasn't prepared for that question. Good question. You stumped me a little bit. Yes, I would like to have him. I think he could be an impact guy in stopping the run. I don't know if you can count on him to be an every down guy at that size. I don't know if there's enough conditioning in the world. And you also have to worry about him ballooning even more so at the NFL level. That's kind of concerning. But yeah, to help with our run stopping problem, I think he'd be a quick answer. The guy can literally wipe away two freaking linemen. Oh, there we go. Brian just brought it up. So 6'4", 340 was Nagata. So yeah, and he was a stud at stopping the run. So 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 Desmond has 100 pounds on him and 2 additional inches. Yeah, I think you take a flyer on him as a late round flyer, but I don't know if you're burning up any premium pick. In my premium, I mean anything before the 4th, and I don't know if a 5th is even worth it. Maybe you steal him in the 6th or the 7th, because I think if he becomes a free agent, someone's throwing money at him just because of that size to speed combination, and to see what a coach can do with him. Right, it'd be a toy for a coach to figure out what they can do with him. Oh crap! All right, so we are at time. That's our biggest need. Who would that be coincidentally? So, all right, this is a good question there, Demo. Draft the best player at our biggest need. Who would that be coincidentally? So I have a theory, right, that in this draft we need to prioritize offense. And man, I really think Tyler Warren could be the dude that prioritizes our offense. Right now, our tight end room is non-existent. Tyler Conklin is still, a free agent out there. We don't have a tight end. We just don't. I don't think Jeremy Ruckerson, and I think that is going to be a that can hurt a young quarterback, whether it's Justin Fields or whoever we bring in next year, not having a tight end that can go ahead and be impactful. So for me, I've been on the record of saying I would like either Tez at number 7, or I would like Ted at number 7, or Tyler Warren at number 7. I want to go offense. I think offense right now is our biggest need. I think when you look at the defensive coaches on the roster, they've got talent to work with on defense. Yeah, you want to go ahead and fill out that the safety room. You want to fill out the defensive line. I get it. But in terms of talent, there's a lot of talent to work with on that defense side of football. The offense is where I think we're lacking. After Garrett Wilson, do you really feel comfortable about any other pass catcher not named Breece Hall? You know what I'm saying? You start to really look at it. Allen Lazard seems to have won some favor with this current regime. He's still on the roster. Even Aaron Glenn today didn't completely dismiss him potentially being here come the start of the season. So I think we've got some concerns, man, when it comes to the wide receiver room and the tight end room. And I think Tyler Warren can be a good fit for both, right? This is a guy who has a high football IQ. He's been utilized in the run game, been utilized in the slot, on the outside. The guy he understands football. And again, coming from a quarterback background, I think is why he's so smart and sees the fields differently. So for me, I think if we wanted to get the best player at our biggest need, it's Tyler Warren, man. I think Tyler Warren at number 7 immediately helps you in 2 facets. 1, you get a legitimate tight end, you know what I'm saying, that can go ahead and help you in the run game, help you in the pass game. And 2, you need another option outside of Garrett Wilson and, of course, Breece Hall when it comes to receiver. And I know we just brought in Reynolds, and a lot of people are hyped about that. And I think Reynolds is a compliment, right, to the wide receiver room. I don't know if he's a game changer in the wide receiver room. But right now, Garrett Wilson and freaking Breece Hall are the 2 people defenses look at. They think to themselves, we stop them, we'll take the chance of anybody else trying to beat us. And that's just a sad fact. But I think Tyler Warren makes defenses actually have to think of how they're going to go ahead and play this team. So that's who I would go with, is Tyler Warren as the guy with number 7. I just think that he brings a lot to the table. It's a great show. Appreciate you, Brian, man. Appreciate you. Conklin signed with the Chargers. I was not tracking that. Okay. Well, there goes that. So then even more so, Tyler Warren, because Conklin is not even on the table anymore. Damn it, man. That hurts my feelings. I was really hoping we brought Tyler Conklin back. Man, how long ago did that happen? Have I been that disconnected? I didn't even realize that. Did I just look at this earlier today at the office to see what the remaining free agents were? Man, played myself. Okay. Appreciate you, Dark Soldier. Always keeping me honest. Brian goes, it's all good. We have Jack Kuntz. Hey, man, April Fools, man. Happy April Fools today. Hopefully you guys got you know what I'm saying, a fun time on April Fools. Maybe somebody got you. Maybe somebody didn't. I made it a point today to not get got by anyone, although there was one that almost got me because I currently own Tesla stock, right? And I've been buying it all up as it's getting lower. And there was an article that I had on my phone that said that Warren Buffett just bought Tesla for like $1 trillion or something like that. And for a brief moment, I went to go open it up and look to myself like, "Ooh, man, this is about to pay off." And I was like, "Wait a minute, $1 trillion? That's ridiculous. The valuation of Tesla is like 700 something billion." And then I realized I was going to pay myself, but I still read the article because I knew it was fake. So I almost got, but I made it through the entire day not getting April fooled. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. With that said, happy April Fools again. Damn, Jimmy, for real, 2 weeks ago? Conklin signed 2 weeks ago? For real? What? Damn, am I been that disconnected from free agency? Look, I got 4 kids, man. 4 kids. 2 of my oldest are in sports for days, work, real estate work. I got a lot going on. So appreciate you guys for letting me know, because I'm over here still thinking that Conklin is an option. And I played myself Dark Soldiers laughing like 2 weeks ago. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys for putting me on game. But that's it, guys. So, again, appreciate y'all for hanging out with me. Here I was thinking this was going to be a short show, hour and 15 minutes later. We're still chopping it up. So, I appreciate y'all. This is Hangout, episode 47, 48 coming at us next week. We're just that much closer to the draft. Yeah. All right. Well, y'all have a good night. Happy April Fool's Day, if that's even a thing. And y'all stay safe, and I'll see you guys next week. Go Jets.
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you won a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
Any players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges, but with challenges becomes opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
And here